Welcome to another exciting episode of the Million Dollar Peddlers. I'm Paperboy.
I'm Mr. Magazine.
I come from I'm setting myself up for this one. I come from a different world than you do, Mr. Magazine.
You sure do.
We talk all the time about how I am a one-man band and you're a business. But the other side of that is in my day job, I work for let's be honest, a gigantic corporation. It happens to be a state entity, but it's a gigantic corporation. And I deal every single day with business owners of all different sizes of business, from other one-man bands all the way up to companies with 1,000 employees. So I get a broad perspective of business. And I know there have been any number of times where you've asked me questions about things. Is this ordinary? Is this? Yeah. Because you know your business, but you don't necessarily know the greater business as far as things go. Sure. Well, I'm going to ask you if you know what this means. Okay. It's a common management phrase for businesses. Best practices.
I've heard it.
Yep. Best practices basically means that you would study your competition and you would say that, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. A best practice, I would say, for listing, and thanks to Auction Professor for saying it, and he stole it from somebody else, would be doing zoom in.
See, I did listen.
Doing the zoom in on pictures. That would be what I would call a best practice, because it would show it this way. Like clothing, a best practice would be free shipping, because everybody else in clothing offers free shipping. You have to offer free shipping. It isn't necessarily a best practice in the collectibles. I happen to do it, but most people do not do it. So I would say probably a best practice would be not to do it. I happen to do it for my own reasons on that. And so on. Pricing. I know a friend of the channel, Auction Professor, talks about he does a 3x pricing structure. Mm-hmm. So if he thinks it's worth 25, he thinks he can get 25 minimal for it. He puts it up at 75 and then does that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really important. And we've done any number of videos where we've talked about watching your competition. Oh, yeah. And how much that definitely does help you. Can you think of any things? And you may have done this back at the when you were setting up at card shows. You may have done it in your store. Just different things that you've seen other people do. And that's really all that it is. You see what somebody else does, and you say, this is a really good idea. I'm going to do it. The only thing best practices does is it puts it down in some kind of a written form, like this is the way we're going to do it. But we all do best practices all day long without thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, what works is I put my stuff on sale. Because if I don't put my stuff on sale, I'll be selling 20 items a day and having 500,000 items up there, which doesn't make any sense. But say coupons in business work well for pizza places. I tried it, didn't work well for me. So it may be best practice for a pizza place, but not for a card shop. So it all depends. Yeah,
and that's I guess that's what we want to emphasize to you out there. You may not have had a name to put on it before. And I always find things to be easier when you can catalog them. And you can catalog those things that you steal from other people, essentially. Yeah. I see you doing something or other, and I say, that is a really good idea. Any number of people have reached out to us on videos and really like the way that I do the cents. 21 cents, 22 cents, whatever. And other people have stolen that from me. Because in their world, that is a best practice. That if they were to make a manual of their business, that would be a best practice in their business. Do this, that way you know how long something's been listed. Right. And I guess one of the problems with eBay is it's such a legacy site. And I don't know if it's so much a problem anymore, but a best practice at one time was you wanted to trumpet your positives. And I guarantee you, how many positives do you have now?
190,000.
And I guarantee you've still got listings that have been listed for years that say, with over 65,000 positives.
Definitely. Maybe 10,000.
Yeah. Because that was the best practice at the time was to tout your positives, because 15 years ago, positives were extremely important on eBay. Yeah. Now they're less so because of buyer protection and all that sort of thing. And that just goes to show as well that best practices do change over time. A best practice years ago was, for me, and it was a best practice at the time, we're going back 2004, 2005, was to mention all the forms of payment that you took in your listing. What all did you take back in the day?
Oh, everything but the Amex and Diners Club, I think.
Yeah, check, money
Yeah.
order, call us up with your credit card.
Yeah.
You can send cash if you want. And then all of a sudden, eBay said you can't ask for cash anymore. And all of my listings got in big trouble because I had to take the cash out of them, and they didn't have bulk edit at the time. So
Right.
there are times where best practice changes.
Backfires.
And I know I've had a number of people, and I do not have a best practice in the description area. I have a very short description area, and I don't say very much in there. The reason why, once bitten, twice shy, because of all the problems that I had with the cash, and because,
Less is more.
well, they used to, people used to put their PayPal email in there.
Oh, yeah.
They used to do, because those things were allowed.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, eBay went and changed things. And about the third or fourth time that they went and changed things,
Power seller, right? Was that something too?
Oh, yeah.
Power seller, logo, and all that.
you could do all that. And then they said you can no longer say you're a power seller after they told us for years to do it. And I know a lot of people out there preach that a best practice is down in your description area, put a link to your eBay store.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it because today, as we're talking, it's allowed. They may suddenly tomorrow say you can't have any links whatsoever. And then these people that are doing what they call, what currently would be a best practice, have 45,000 items that they have to take that link out of. And if the bulk isn't working right on the bulk edit, what happens?
Yeah, exactly.
I think we all see where that's going.
Yep.
But again, that is where my best practice is not to do it, because eBay has just burned me one too many times on things like that.
Yeah, and no offense, it's easier for you to revise 1,000, 10,000, whatever you have to do. For me, it's always been a headache. You can't do it in bulk. Forget it. It's not worth doing it.
Right. But what's the best way to make sure you don't have to edit the stuff in bulk?
Don't put them in.
Not have it there in the first place. Yeah.
Eliminate anything.
So within our worldview, from having been on for so long, our best practice is not to put anything extraneous in there whatsoever, because you never know when the next shoe is going to drop.
Yeah.
Remember back, and again, we're going to walk down memory lane here for a minute. Do you remember back before, and you still have some listings that say this, do you remember back before calculated shipping? Well,
yeah.
First off, you had something the other day that this happened to. You sold an item overseas. It was a record.
Yeah.
Dave Clark record, if I remember right. What was the ship? What would that cost you to ship?
$30 now.
$25, something like that.
Yeah.
What was your listed price on it? 11, I think.
Yeah, it was 10, $11. Well, it's funny, we had one today. It was 2 years ago. It was a graded comic, but the person who listed it put 1 ounce in for the weight. So someone overseas bought it, and I'm looking like $9. You can't ship that for $9 in the USA. We have to cancel it. I'd be losing $30, and it's not like it was a $500 comic. It was like $30, 40, whatever. It was graded, so it was probably 50 or 60.
Wow.
Hey, you can't take a loss like that.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Yep. But I'm even thinking, before you filled that in, people, please contact us for international shipping quote. And I know you still have some listings that say that in there.
Yeah.
Because again, that was the best practice at the time.
Right.
So look around what other people are doing, but also look bigger picture, as to, yes, it might be a best practice at this moment to put a link to your store in there. Absolutely, maybe a best practice. But what happens if eBay were to change it? And again, if you've been bitten a couple of times like we have, you decide not to do that. And I'm not telling you to do it or not to do it. I don't have any inside information on what eBay's going to do. Trust me on that. But hopefully that helps you a little bit. You've been doing it all along without even thinking about it. You see what other people do, and always observe what other people are doing. And another thing that we emphasize on this channel all the time, I've pulled a lot of best practices and shared them with you from businesses that have nothing to do whatsoever with the reselling. I've seen businesses that do this. I've seen businesses that do that. I'll give you a perfect example. If you're a larger company, what some of the places do, a best practice would be, instead of having, well, you're obviously, instead of having Joe at MrMagazine.com, you would have manager at MrMagazine.com. That way, when Joe leaves the company, people that are emailing the manager, and whoever the new manager is gets that there. That's a best practice versus having Joe. Because what ends up happening often with the big companies is it becomes a dead email. Nobody gets a notification that it's not being monitored. And, you know,
lose a lot of business.
Well, I emailed this company a week and a half ago and they haven't gotten back to me. What is going on? Oh, he's no longer with the company. You never thought about that? You never had a mechanism in place to deal with emails that are sent to people in the company who are no longer there? That wouldn't be a best practice, would it? So do comment down below on some of the things that you've stolen from other people, because again, that's all that it is. You're witnessing what other people are doing. You're stealing their ideas. You're changing them a little bit to fit your exact specifications of your business, and you're making your business better. And the more that you're out looking for best practices, the better your business will be. I think that's without a doubt whatsoever. Because is there room for improvement in Mr. Magazine?
Absolutely.
Is there room for improvement in Papergoy? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. No, there is. There's plenty of places I can improve. But being willing to accept that, being willing to understand that, and then being willing to look outside the box at what other people are doing, you'll end up with a much better business than if you just stay hard and fast in your ways. This is the way I'm going to do it no matter what. Because things around you change.
Yeah.
And if you don't change with them, you're going to be that antique dealer sitting out there trying to sell the Gene Autry comics at $25 a piece because that's what you got for them in 1982, and darn it, that's what you're going to get for them now.
Yeah.
So,
good luck.
You know what? Another great best practice is for all of our viewers out there.
Oh, to hit something.
To hit the like button.
Again and again.
And we will see you next video.
Take care. Bye-bye.